Oh,
All right,
we are live.
here we are, boys and girls.
Welcome to Yankees Coast to Coast.
Yes, we're your hosts. Michael Miller, back from assignment, which is not my wife stopping me from being on the show. If I was away with my wife, she would have made me do the show just to get me away from her. So she was not with me when I was in Florida playing the world's worst golf games ever. I was with a couple of fans of the show, by the way, Matt Shale and Nick Pasianos.
FOS. We love.
Yes, and then our partner in crime, who we've done time with and shared cell with, Adam Schneider.
Ooh, bad hair day. Ooh, doctor.
Well, put the hat back on. You smell bad too. And then, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, who has his own stuffed doll. Steve Schneider is with us again, Mr. Bighead.
Oh, that's nice.
Pleasure to be back with all these millions of listeners.
Yes, the millions of folks, our many fans, and Mike went out and paid money. You can see that
Mike got it as a gift. I got it as a gift. I got it as a gift years ago, and I just unearthed it. But Steve, you need to grow your beard out again, just like this guy.
I'm honored to have.
And that's cool. His name is Rabbi Rabin. He dances and sings to Hava Nagila, but the battery is dead, so I won't play that for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
And then, as always, we're joined by Kramer. And then, of course, who do we have there with you today, Adam? Mr. Lou Gehrig?
Never traded, though. I have to say, he was never traded. It's the great Lou Gehrig today. I put Thurman away. Thurman has a spot back on my wall. But I thought Lou Gehrig just felt good today.
Okay. So you just don't have any dead, you only go with dead bobbleheads.
Yes. Kramer and
Kramer. And do you have anything to open with today besides bobbleheads?
No, nothing special. It's been a kind of a quiet week in baseball. It's great having baseball back, though. I'm very happy. I'm enjoying my first 3 innings of every game on Yes Network. Enjoyable. It would be nice to get Carlos Rodon going. He's looking a little bit slow. His arm looks a little tired. I have said it many times, and I'll continue to say it, that it is key that they have him succeed this year. Their success is tied to those 5 men throwing every game.
Well, I think it's tied to either Rodon or Cortez truly being a number 2 and the other guy being a number 3, because they need to get 175 to 200 innings out of both of those guys.
Correct.
And I don't know that they're going to. So they've never had starting pitching issues, quite frankly. And it's not a depth issue. I don't think Stephen King is going to be pitching for the Yankees.
I hear he's thinner,
as he's a Red Sox fan.
Thinner.
But I don't think King or Clyde King even. We can go with him.
Clyde King. Oh God.
But wow, Steve Schneider, why are you here again? What is the glutton for punishment that you are?
Tonight, so I figured that I might as well kill an hour waiting for my wife to get home. So
she out with her boyfriend again?
Yeah, again. Yeah, she is. Yes.
Okay, well,
Do me a favor, Mike. Do me a favor. Take the Kramer and shake it like you did.
I'm a little nervous.
The last time that was when Jeff Nelson threw a changeup at him. It was like,
oh, that's a bad one. Ooh.
Oh no. So anyhow.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah. That one didn't go over well. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared to give you the.
You didn't have a wah, wah, wah.
I do have a wah, 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 but I wasn't ready for it.
Wah, wah.
I'll go with this instead.
Nope.
All right.
Okay.
So here's the deal. I want to quickly run through the Yankee transactions for the week. You ready? So it's what, March 7th?
Yes, sir.
Anthony Hall was sent down. I didn't realize that he was stopped acting Anthony Michael Hall.
Anthony Michael Hall?
Yeah, Hall. He got sent down from 16 Candles. He got sent down. Jake Agnos, Jesus Lorenzo, Jordan Groshans, Josh Gross,
Well, a couple Jewish guys.
Jordan Groshans, all got sent down.
Gross.
Now, a couple of guys who actually may be back during the season. Luis Heel got sent down to Scranton. And Yerndres Gomez, a right-handed pitcher, got sent down. Andrew Landry got assigned. And then Sebastian Keane, Nelson Medina, Cole Gabrielson, Cole Ayers, Clay Aguilar, and Grant Richardson were all sent down to minor league camp.
Oh, wow. So there's actually a baseball player named Sebastian. Just, I don't know. It doesn't work. Maybe a soccer player I can see.
Well, I think he's related to John. He's related to John Sebastian, and he's going to sing the Welcome Back, Kotter theme song every time he pitches.
Or Sebastian Cabot. Who is that?
Ooh, Sebastian Cabot from Please Don't Eat the Daisies.
Mr.
No, wrong guy.
He's Mr. French, though, isn't he?
Mr. French from The Family Affair.
Oh, Family Affair. Sorry. I got my 70s, early 70s little kids sitcoms.
Uncle Beale.
We're talking about 70 trades today, right?
Yes, not 70s TV. Well, that'll be another show.
All right, so for today's show, here we go. I'll lead it off with the explain. First of all, I want to say happy birthday to friend of the show, Dave Green. He was one of the people down in Florida with me. So let's say everybody give Dave Green a quick old happy birthday. And we're going to welcome Dave Green and say congratulations on qualifying for all the IHOP and movie theater senior discounts. That's what birthday he's having today.
Speaking of senior discounts.
Yes, the senior discounts at the IHOP and movie theater.
I love it.
So the topic for today, and we picked 1970.
Hold on. Roll back the truck. I wanted to say something to a friend of the show. Joe Asti. Dr. Joe is recovering. He's doing well. You know, we're very happy to hear that his third hip replacement is doing very well.
Well, it's better than his fourth testicle replacement.
That was 10 years ago, and he's very upset about it. It's never worked quite the same. But anyway, well, we love Joe, and he's doing well. And did he? Yeah, he actually. He
has a comment today.
So anyway,
and we're also hoping to have Joe on the show in 2 weeks when we do our fantasy baseball show.
Mm-hmm. Got it. This is great news.
Yes, we're really hoping that. Anybody else we need to talk to?
No, that's about it. Now we can go on to this fabulous topic.
We can congratulate Donald Trump for being the presumptive nominee.
We're not going now. No talk. We'll have a Trump show later on.
Steve's already saying, "Why did I do this?" Anyhow, so today's topic is since 1970, with a few exceptions. We're going to talk about the best and worst Yankee trades. And the reason we chose 1970, because even at 1970, we could probably have a 7 or 8 hour show. And if we went earlier than that, we would have a 24-hour show, and barely anybody will tolerate us for even 45 minutes, much less that long. And we're also going to sprinkle in some trades from other teams that will make us feel better that the Yankees made some crappy trades themselves. Mm-hmm. For those of you listening live on the Mic'd Up app, you will see a microphone in the bottom center of your screen on any type of device you're using. And by clicking on that microphone, you can leave us a 30-second message. And you can leave us as many 30-second messages as you'd like. And we hope to leave some live messages for us. And, you know, if Kramer could figure it out, anybody can. Listen, it's like a caveman can do it, anybody can.
Let's really focus on this a little bit, because people have come to me and said, you know, I don't like the fact we only have 30 seconds. I have too much. We're all too verbose at this point in our life. So why not? We have to explain. We do not care if you do this 10 times. Hey, listen, Miller on the Wednesday night show annoys the hell out of these guys because they got to push the button 17 times because he can't shut up. So he keeps going over and over again. We're okay with that. You are welcome. This is a family show, and we want you to participate. So feel free to do it 5 times, 6 times. If we're tired of you, we'll stop. Okay?
I mean, if we play Kramer's messages, we'll play anybody's messages.
Exactly.
So, and then the other thing, for those of you who are technologically inept, which basically Steve almost had to do our show via text today because he couldn't figure out how to turn on the app. We welcome the opportunity. If you know any of our 3 phone numbers, text it to us, and perhaps we'll read your text on the show.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's what we're going to go with. So, with regard to the topic, we're going to evaluate these trades that we're going to bring up, and not necessarily in any order, because we can't count whether we count forwards or backwards, like the guys on the Highlights from Low Life show. But we're going to just pound out some trades and use. We got a lot of comments today, so it's kind of nice. But with regard to evaluating the trades, there's a couple of ways that I figured out that we can evaluate these trades. Is going back in time, based on the facts at the time of the trade, would you make that trade again? Or knowing what you know now and how bad or great the trade worked out, would you make the trade again? And then, of course, there's the other ones, which is, did the deal lead to a World Series win for your team, or a deep playoff run, or a series of playoff runs? And then last but not least, was the trade just so lopsided that based on the performance of the players involved, easily it was one of the worst or best trades, depending on which side of the trade you're on?
Exactly.
If you guys can think of other ways to evaluate it, jump right in.
Mm-hmm. And really, if you have another idea, you're welcome to push the little mic button and tell us.
I would like to start, actually, in an unusual move. I'd like to start with one of the trades.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So this is from our friend from Highlights from Low Lifes. And we're going to go with Mr. Rob Weber from the Highlights from Low Life show, which is at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday night on the Mic'd Up app.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the best Yankee trades of all time, and also one of the worst Yankee trades of all time, is the wife swap that Fritz Peterson and Mike Kekich did in the early 70s. I heard that Peterson was happy and Kekich was not.
I think it was the other way around, wasn't it?
I think he's right.
No, Peterson. Peterson's still married.
Peterson's still married to the same woman?
Yep.
Same woman.
Okay, I thought Kekich was married to the same woman.
Nope, didn't last. It ended very quickly. But the dog is still.
Okay, so how do we evaluate that trade? It's a hard one for us to evaluate, but I figured I'd start
again.
It was Kekich's family for Peterson's family and pets.
Well, that trade also other trades, because that guaranteed Kekich leaving and Peterson a little bit later. So that was what is if it's in the.
Yeah.
So
I would say that was a thumbs up. That's a good trade. So really,
that is the most unique trade.
I've talked to Fritz many times about this, and it certainly didn't help his career. I think it made him a folk hero a little, but it certainly didn't help him. I think he might have been done anyway. He was sort of I don't think he ever threw very well after with the Indians when he went in the Chambliss deal, but no, I don't think it helped his career, but it certainly helped him write an interesting book with more than a few typos. So the editor wasn't quite. And listen, Fritz, if you're listening right now, I did not mean to call you out on that. But
that's not his fault. He's not the editor. That's Kramer's fault. He was the editor.
Kramer edited that book. That was it. Oh,
the favorite thing about Peterson, though, is you go to fantasy camp and all the veteran campers tell the new guys, whatever you do, don't bring up the wife swap to Peterson ever. And then at the Q&A the very first night, the first thing he says is, all right, let's talk about the wife swap.
Yeah, he loves to talk about the wife swap. And also he wanted at a camp game more than anything else, the Legends game, he wanted to throw to me. So I had an opportunity to face, Nelson, and with his 5 years retired,
still throwing 90
hour fastball still, and I was excited because this could be good. And all of a sudden, I see him come out to the mound, kind of stumble out. He said, "I'm going to throw to him." All right. Nelson goes back to the dugout, and I look. Fritz could not throw the ball 20 feet. I literally could not hit it. I walked 3 times. Well, they don't really walk in that game, but it was so upsetting. I felt bad for him. but it was
He had a Kramer outing.
He had a Kramer outing, but he meant it with love, and I appreciated that.
You know,
I really did.
I know Fritz is under the weather for several years now. He was my favorite person at camp, and you know what? He's actually the only person that ever he called me to speak to Adam, which was kind of, and he wanted Adam's phone numbers. I mean, that was like what was really kind of funny. I saw him quite. In fact, I saw him at the Yogi Berra Museum, and I helped him with a trivia night. It was, just one other thing about Fritz. That his books are so bad. He did the all-time worst thing possible. He called it the Yankee Stadium, which I mean,
I hate that.
The Yankee Stadium. I mean,
The
come
Yankee
on,
Stadium.
you got the best ERA in the history of the Yankee Stadium. You should know what it's called.
Yeah, that.
Oh, give the guy a break. And besides, I didn't realize that Adam needed a translator the way that Mickey Rivers needs a translator and used to use Oscar Gamble as his translator. So Steve is your translator.
The great Oscar Gamble.
There it is. Thank you.
All right. So, what trade would you like to bring up, Steve? Are you going outside 1970 right away?
What's actually very interesting is that people did an awful lot of Googling today, because I did, just to get the details on some of the trades that I remembered, and people have it perfectly verbatim. I mean, so it's kind of hard because you pretty much have hit on all the big ones. I'm trying to figure out, though, who the hell was involved in the Dave Collins trade. That had to be the worst, but I don't see on the list.
I thought Dave Collins was a free agent.
Oh, maybe that's the case. Okay.
That's for another show.
Now, I mean, there's just so many people that are mentioned, and some of these break my heart. The thing I wanted to make, so I need a little bit of, I mean, I have all the trades of everyone. There's Nettles and Chambliss.
Let's bring up one so we can talk about it. Stop rattling them off and ruining the show.
Let's talk about the trade that probably, I think, really triggered the start of the 70s, and that was when they got Nettles in 70. November 72, they got Greg Nettles, Cleveland.
Yep. On my list for Charlie Spikes.
Rusty Torres, Charlie Spikes, Jerry Kenny, and John Ellis. And we like John Ellis, but
we love John Ellis.
It was,
I have a John Ellis bat at home.
Yeah, well, that trade, because that was a year before they got Lou, and then all the other trades that followed. So Gabe Paul trade. So Gabe Paul really, saved. My wife actually looked at my list and said, there's nothing here that's that's current days. And I go, well, there hasn't been any good trades since Gene Michael died. So yeah.
I would agree with that. So the trade with Nettles was Nettles and Jerry Moses for John Ellis, Charlie Spikes, Rusty Torres, and Jerry Kenny. Mm-hmm. I have a Jerry Kenny bat at home as well, as a matter of fact.
Wow. You still have those bats, don't you? We lost all
of them. A few of them, not all of them. When my parents moved from Spring Valley to New Jersey, my mother seems to have gotten rid of some of the bats.
Jerry Kenny came up the same year that Mercer returned from the Army. And obviously they had so much hope with Kenny, and he just never, ever, the trade was the best thing that ever happened for them.
Well, Horace Clarke was there, so they didn't have to worry too much about playing Jerry Kenny.
I love Horace Clarke, man. Come on. One of the great Yankees, the unsung hero of those terrible, terrible dark days. All right. Thanks, Steve. That was a good one.
Yeah, so just so you know what the Indians got, Jerry Kenny only played a handful of games. Rusty Torres barely hit over the Mendoza line. And then Ellis played 3 decent seasons in Cleveland before he was traded away to the Rangers.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Charlie Spikes, who was built like Jim Wynn, he hit 45 homers in the first 2 seasons with Cleveland. So he had 2 good years in Cleveland, but then he fell off the end of the earth.
The thing about that deal, Nettles, let's talk about Nettles a little bit. Aside from the fact that I always talk about him playing 150 games a year for 10 years, 158 games for 10 years. But, he wasn't a great, I've forgotten this, he wasn't considered a great defender when they got him. They thought he was more of an offensive guy. But he taught himself to be a great third baseman. Like, he really worked after he came over to the Yankees.
Well, that was when, wasn't Boyer was working with the Yankees?
It was. That's right. It was, yeah, it did. What's interesting was that Nettles had the perfect Yankee stadium.
That's right.
He owned the right field seat, and I went to hundreds of games. I don't think I saw 1 home run from Mickey Mantle. I probably saw 50 home runs from Greg Nettles.
Yeah, Nettles always hit. Always hit. when we
So
were there.
yeah, and for a guy who came over is not supposed to be that good a defender. The fact that he won 6 Gold Gloves
Hmm.
and he was a 6-time All-Star.
Yeah, I
Oh,
really
sorry, he
want.
won two Gold Gloves and he was a 6-time All-Star.
And he was elected to the All-Star team years that Brooks Robinson was in the league. So it was.
Yeah. Not to mention the defense he played in the 77 and 78 World Series.
Well,
Yeah.
Adam and I packed the box, the photo room box in those years. We used to.
All right, Adam, what do you got? That's a deal that we think was a good deal or bad deal by the Yankees.
Well, I've got both. I'm going to go with one. My best Yankee deal. Listen, I love all of them, but I've already talked a lot about Sparky Lyle. I love that deal. Talked about Nettles. But here's one I haven't talked about that I really love, that I think had the most impact on them. I think David Justice for Ricky Leday, Zach Day, and Jake Westbrook. I love that trade because I think that he won the Yankees a World Series. Because he got so incredibly hot, had such a great second half. It was like the perfect midseason pickup. Now he nosedived after that, but that trade to me was when you bring somebody in that can influence your team that much. I think the Mets had that a little bit with Cespedes a few years ago, where a guy just comes in and just picks up the offense. I think that was David Justice.
Adam, that is really that you have a category here like of those mid-season trades that put you over the top, and there was that one. Getting Cone was the same type of thing.
Yeah,
And getting Aaron, God knows Aaron Boone, that one home run.
the thing. Well, it certainly
So
made
how many games do you think Justice played for the Yankees in 2000? Just out of curiosity, because I have the numbers.
About 70.
Played 78 games, hit 20 homers, 60 RBIs, and hit 305.
That's pretty incredible.
In the playoffs.
And then how many games do you think he played in 01 for the Yankees? Because he was on that team too.
At 50, and then they got traded or cut.
111.
Oh, he played the whole year. Okay.
And he only batted 241 with 18 homers and 51 RBIs. But he did play into the playoffs and helped them in the playoffs.
Or his stats in the playoffs in 2000. I mean, he had to hit at least 3 or 4 home runs. I remember him hitting.
It was unbelievable. I don't have those in front of me. So, all right, let's go to the.
What about you? What's yours?
Well, no, I'm going to go to a video. I'm going to go to a caller. All right. So I'm going to go to, and this is a trade I would not have thought about whatsoever. This is from another one of the highlights from Low Life's guys, from Rob Lannerman.
You guys are talking about a lot of big name trades, but I want to talk about a small name trade that may have had the biggest impact out of anything you talk about tonight. Prior to the 1972 season, Stan Bonson was traded to the White Sox for light-hitting middle infielder Rich McKinney. McKinney appeared in 33 games for the Yankees and barely hit 300. Bonson went on to win 21 games for the White Sox that year. Now, consider the Yankees finished just 6.5 back. Had Bonson played for the Yankees and won his 21 games, they might have ended their longest playoff drought. Mike Burke and the CBS group would not have had to sell to Steinbrenner.
Listen, I got to comment first. Do you think Robbie was trying out to be the FedEx commercial guy, or do you think he has an ability to play his messages on fast speed to get them all in 30 seconds?
He's a talented man, though. I'm impressed. I think he speeds up the tape. I think he's actually talking like this, but he speeds it up beautifully. It was impressive. That's a great thing. I didn't know about that one. I have great Stan Bonson stories, but we'll share that for another day.
Most of them, I don't think you can share, but that's okay. So, hey, friend of the show, Nick Pasianos just sent me something. Okay. So I want to show you guys that. He is at Steinbrenner Field with with one of his sons and his wife.
Very nice.
He is at Steinbrenner Field. So now you can see what he looks like. And why he's a friend of the show, nobody knows.
Friend of the show. Thank you.
Nick Pasianos. See, you send in texts and we give you
joy. Good luck. Have a nice time.
So as far as deals go,
I wonder if your thing is still out there. Your
Oh yeah, it's dead. And Lannerman chimes in and says that he learned from Ezra von Mermelschwanz how to talk fast.
That was it. I'll ask Ezra how he did that.
Yes. So I have a trade that I wanted to talk about that definitely helped the Yankees for years, multiple years, right? And at the time, nobody really knew it was going to be this big of a deal. Tino Martinez, Jeff Nelson, and Jim Messier from the Mariners for Sterling Hitchcock and Russ Davis.
Yes. Now Davis didn't do very much. I think Davis played a little bit, but it wasn't that big a career.
No, and Hitchcock was up and down, lefty.
Right. Hitchcock probably won some games for them. Yeah, that was a great deal. Great. I mean,
That was a good deal. I mean, from 96 to 01, Nelson and Martinez were at the center of everything for the team.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing about that was that those first, everyone hated it. You know, at the how would he follow Mattingly? How would he follow Mattingly? Well, he followed Mattingly.
Yeah, that was hard, and that had to be a very hard time for that. You know, when you leave when you replace a legend, I mean, it can't be easy. But he did handle it well, and he didn't. He just took it. I think these guys. Now, it'd be an interesting story. You played with him at one of the double play things, didn't you? Didn't you did work with Tino?
Oh, what a great guy! What a great guy! I mean, you know, we work with a lot of good guys with the double play events, and one of the best things ever to happen during those events is you can see what kind of guy the guys are when you're working in the batting cage on one, how they interact with the event participants. And the other thing is when there's nobody around and we're picking up baseballs, whether or not they, you know, big time us or not.
Mm-hmm.
Quite frankly, John Conti big times us in order to doesn't pick up baseballs. But what was funny is
friend of the show,
Tino Martinez bent down and picked up baseballs. I mean, there's a story that Tino Martinez, one of the reasons he had trouble when he was the hitting coach in Miami was that one of the bonus babies, I forgot which one, got into it with Tino because the guy wouldn't pick up baseballs. And Tino's like, everybody picks up baseballs. But Tino was fantastic. I think it was me and Valenza that day that were working.
Tino is Tino. I didn't really talk to him because I was having the bullpen with Mo, but you know, I love that he would. I heard that he was that kind of guy. That was his thing, and so yeah, great to pick up important. That was an earth change. They didn't give up anything that hurt them. They had great pitching during that time. They didn't need Sterling anymore, and to get Nelson, who was ice leading up to Stanton and then Mo in those 3 or 4 years. It just could not. Could they use that now?
All right, so I have a trade on my list, but I'm going to let K-Dog. He brought this trade up, and it's a trade that people don't think of. But I will say this: the player the Yankees gave up. Oh no, this isn't the trade I was thinking of. Well, we're going to go with this one from K-Dog anyhow. I do have this trade on my. Oh, here it is. K-Dog has this one also. The player the Yankees gave up on this trade played his college baseball at the college where I coached for a year. Here it goes, K-Dog.
K-Dog here again. Okay, worst Yankee trades. Sending Willie McGee to the Cardinals for Bob Sykes.
Yep.
It was on my list.
That
was my list.
On my list too. And Willie McGee played at Diablo Valley College in Pleasant Hill, California, where I teach and where I coached baseball for a year.
He was a Mickey Rivers lookalike, if I recall.
No, Mickey's better looking than that. As a matter of fact, when I see Mickey, next time I see Mickey, I'm going to tell him you said that. And when he sees you, Steve, he's going to swat your head.
Don't tell Cookie, please. Just don't tell Cookie.
Cookie will probably take your side.
I'm worried. Oh.
So Kramer also threw in the Greg Nettles trade that we talked about already. Mm-hmm. So we're back at you, big guy. What do you got besides the most obvious of trade that 3 guys put on our voicemail? What do you got? Oh, Kramer also had the Tino Martinez, Jeff Nelson trade. What do you got there, Steve? Rabbi, well, what do you got?
Actually, I want to tell you that we talked about, I mentioned the Chambliss trade earlier, but there was actually somebody in the Chambliss trade that was incredibly valuable for many years. The late, great Dick Tidrow.
Yes.
He was right there. I mean,
Tidrow was like Nelson. That was like a lot like Nelson, that setup man for Sparky.
Yeah. And Tidrow, he was, but he also had the good mustache. Spent a lot of years in the front office for the Giants after he retired.
And wore the highest socks at that time when they didn't wear the socks that high. He wore his socks up to his knees, like a lot of these new guys do today. Love it. Wow. Okay, great one. That's a great one.
Yep. What do you got there, Mr. Adam? Let's see what you got.
I got. I got to tell you, Willie Randolph deal. You know, gave up Doc Mann. It was a good arm for them. Doc was did he win 18, 19 games
Yeah, that's about right.
in 75? Maybe was it?
Yeah.
Traded him.
So he was a really solid guy. So you gave up a lot there, but you got just a generational talent from Willie. As a great setup man, the great compliment to Mickey Rivers. I talked to Mickey about this at camp a couple of years ago. He always wanted Randolph to lead off. He thought that he should be the second hitter because he had more power and he could hit more home runs. He could pop the ball. He said, I would have hit 25 home runs if I was batting second, because I could have, I'd have him on base. I'd double him over. I'd hit him out. He said that we would have scored more runs. But Randolph was a great defender. Just one of the best second basemen I ever saw, with the littlest glove.
And
He had the little 5 ounce. I mean, it was tiny little 5-inch glove. It was basically his hand, and I never saw him make an error.
Well, he did, but not many. He didn't win any Gold Gloves. So a couple of things on the Randolph trade. That trade was Willie Randolph and Doc Ellis, as well as best hitting pitcher in the history of baseball, Ken Brett, coming to the Yankees in exchange for Doc Medich. So the Yankees got a 3-for-1, and quite frankly, Doc Ellis did a lot for the Yankees.
Yeah, and for and a lot for LSD too.
Yes, he did. So Medich only went 49-40 in his 3 seasons for the Yankees.
Well, he was worried. He was worried about when he was going to start his medical career. So that was.
I don't know about that, but Yankees got Randolph, who was there 13 years, 5-time All-Star,
and a captain of the Yankees.
Captain. Interesting Randolph story. Worked with him as well in the double play events. Did you ever notice that Willie Randolph and Rich Weil sound exactly alike when they talk?
No, but I do now.
When you next time you hear Randolph speak or Weil speak, I've never seen them together. They could be the same guy.
Both from Brooklyn. It's the same thing, same part.
But have you ever seen Willie Randolph and Rich Weil at the same time? No, because they could be the same guy.
You know what? You're right.
They could be the same guy. So Randolph, Doc Ellis in 76 went in the first season that they went to the World Series. He went 17-8, and then in 77 they traded him off to Texas.
That's right. Also, didn't they? Brett was part of it very quickly after they got him. Maybe like in April of whatever that year was. They traded him again, and they got somebody good for him. Was it Carlos May or somebody like that? I don't remember, but they got somebody who was important.
Got a useful piece for him.
Sorry.
Who did they get for him?
Look it up.
He's right. I think there was a big deal, and it was a deal that helped him a lot.
It helped the Yankees. So, and Ken and George Brett are from, I believe they're from they grew up out here, even though they were born in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and Ken Brett was a better hitter when they were growing up, so that was what was interesting.
Wow.
So
Ken Brett, let's see, where does Ken Brett came with that, and then the Yankees.
Oh, did Ken Brett go for Bucky?
Ken Brett, no, he went with Rich Coggins to the White Sox for Carlos May. Good call, Steve.
Thumbs up.
Steve, you nailed
Thumbs up. Only one thumb up though for Carlos May, because Carlos May only had one thumb.
Wow.
And also he was the White Sox player in history to wear his birthday, May 17.
How did he wear his birthday?
These guys.
His name was May, and he wore number 17.
Oh, but he didn't have his name on his jersey in the Yankees. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down a different road here. I'm going to try and rattle off a couple of bad deals that the Yankees made. They're not going to be highlighted bad trades, which we're going to get to the big man on campus pretty soon. You ready? Here's a couple of bad trades the Yankees made where they gave up guys. Mike Lowell to the Marlins for the immortal Ed Yarnell, Todd Noel, and Mark Johnson.
Jesus Christ.
But they traded Lowell because they had Brocious at the time.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Here's another one. Steve Rainbow Trout.
What a trade.
Traded to the Chicago Cubs for our friend Bob Tewksbury. Yankees gave up Tewksbury in that trade. Or was it with St. Louis? I forgot where it was.
That's right. It was a trade. It wasn't that wasn't a signing.
Yeah, it was the Cubs. And Trout ended up having basically Ed Whitson disease, which might be Carlos Rondon disease, because he didn't get hurt with the Yankees.
And
He just
Tewksbury did Tewksbury win 20 games?
Tewksbury had a long career and pitched really well in St. Louis. For a guy who Kramer throws harder than, he had a really long career. Tewksbury went 110 and 102 in his career with a 3.92 ERA. And he only had 10 wins with the Yankees.
Hearing Tewksbury reminds me of somebody else that I don't see it on anybody's list, and I don't know who it was for. But at some point, the Yankees traded Jim DeShays, and he ended up in Houston, and he had a very good career with Houston.
Well, here's another guy the Yankees traded that didn't work out so well for them. Tyler Clippard.
Oh, I think he came back a couple times.
Tyler Clippard was traded in 2007 to the Nationals. Tyler Clippard was playing in baseball until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He started 6 games for the Yankees, and then he moved to the bullpen, and he was an all-star twice. So the Yankees gave him up and basically got nothing for him.
Yeah.
So that's another guy that they gave up.
He never came back, did he?
We have a message
guys
from
that gave
Kramer
up, and
on the subject. The best thing about the Steve Trout for Bob Tewksbury trade was the quote from Steinbrenner at the time. He goes to the manager and says, "I just won you a pennant. I got you a Trout." That sounds like the big man.
Yep. Hey, Kramer just sent that to me.
I got it too. We both have it.
Well, you didn't attribute it to Kramer?
I did. I said we got a Kramer to send us.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. I was too busy looking at other guys the Yankees gave up. Here's another guy the Yankees gave up in a bad trade. Doug Drabeck.
Yeah, big one. Really hurt.
He was 23, and they traded him and Logan Easley and Brian Fisher to the Pirates for the immortal Pat Clemens, Cecilio Guante, one of the best
I remember
history of the Yankees, and a guy who was useful in Rick Roden.
Yeah.
But
Roden was through.
No, and Drabeck was fantastic in Pittsburgh.
He won a Cy Young.
Cy Young.
Yeah, Drabeck pitched 13 years.
Yeah.
For Houston, Chicago, and Baltimore.
Here's one that might not be on anybody's list. Do you mind?
Go ahead.
But one that I think is terrible, that hurt them a great deal in many ways. Ricky Henderson for Eric Plunk for the second time, traded back to them, and Luis Polonia, who was known for playing, was around for some of the worst teams.
But he also had the biggest glove in the history of baseball.
Biggest glove in baseball. But to give up Henderson, who then went on to talk about a great pickup for a team to win them a World Series, he goes to the A's and plays like you've never seen him play before. Like
he was great on he was great on the Yankees too.
He was, but I thought it was a terrible trade because they got nothing. They got Eric Plunk, who was nothing, and you got Luis Polonia, who was just known for his big glove. They got nothing in that deal.
Well, what's funny is Eric Plunk was also in the trade when they acquired Ricky.
That's right. So why
it was the trade to acquire Ricky in '84 was Ricky and Burt Bradley, whoever that is. Maybe he was Bill's brother, to the Yankees in exchange for Tim Burtsis, Jay Howell, who had a decent career, and Stan Javier, Eric Plunk, and the immortal Jose Blame It on Rio. my inner Chris Berman is coming out with these guys. It's an interesting deal.
You mentioned Polonia. I guess I just think of trivia. He into one of the best trades we haven't. I know someone mentioned it, but we haven't talked about it yet. Luis Polonia hit a fly ball in the Game 5 of the '96 World Series, and this guy caught it and the wall. That was Paul O'Neill, and that was another one of those Gene Michael or Roberto Kelly.
That was a great deal. That was a great trade. Should be high on the list. Not.
I have no deal on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people have put it down.
Well, no, I don't know if anybody put it into the calls, but let's see. With the Paul O'Neill deal, I have that one pretty high on my range of deals here. Where did I put it? Here it is. It was Paul O'Neill for Roberto Kelly and Joe DeBerry.
Yep.
And, the Yankees had a choice, Kelly or Bernie Williams, and they made the right choice. I mean, Kelly wasn't a bad player.
No, and he had a good career. He wasn't bad with the Reds.
Nope.
He just wasn't. He wasn't going to be this guy. And it's the same thing like the A-Rod deal. Like, A-Rod was traded for, and they gave up Soriano, who had 50 home runs. He was a 50-40 guy at one point. I mean, that's pretty incredible player.
The A-Rod deal, which was basically A-Rod for Soriano, and the Yankees got money.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting trade. And
I'm interested to hear what our friend Joe Osti has to say, though.
All right. Joe Osti has a couple of messages. Let's this is one I have on my list as well.
As far as best trades, at least the Yankees made, number one is Paul O'Neill for Roberto Kelly. Also, Lou Piniella for Lindy McDaniels. And Greg Nettles for Johnny Ellis and Jerry Kenney and Charlie Spikes.
So,
also Randolph for Doc Medich.
So he pretty much built the 1970 championship team there. That's what it was. Those three or four trades really are what, and getting Catfish.
Yeah, and you can't look at those trades independently, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So he has a continuation. So here we go.
Continuing, Chambliss for Rick Cerrone and Roger Maris. Well, this is before 1970, but Roger Maris trade for Hank Bauer and Don Larson was pretty good.
Yeah.
Worst trades in history is probably Frank Robinson from Cincinnati to Baltimore for Milt Pappas. And just recently, Montgomery for Bader was terrible.
Well, I have the Robinson trade as one of the worst trades in the history of baseball.
Well, I have it the other way. One of the best trades because the Orioles made an incredible trade.
Well, I was looking at it from the fact that it hurt the Yankees. Anyhow,
that's
I will say this though:
because
the
a lot of
Bader
trades.
Well,
trades that we think are terrible were really good for somebody else.
Now, I want to say something, and this hurts me to say a little bit because I'm agreeing with Michael Kay, who is a fan of the show. He said this yesterday on his show. Montgomery for Bader. Now, Bader won a series in the playoffs. I mean, granted, he came over with the boot, but he won a playoff series single-handedly for them when he came over. He hit 5 homers in a series.
He killed the Indians. It was murder. We were there.
And what's funny is he lasted a season. He actually lasted longer on the Yankees than Montgomery did on the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And then Montgomery turned into a better pitcher with Texas. And right now, I'm thinking about signing him for my old fat man's baseball league since he's not signed. Old fat man's. So yeah, but I do have the Frank Robinson trade as one of the worst trades in the history of baseball. I'll put it neutral. One of the most lopsided trades in the history of baseball.
Well, the Reds said he was done. They knew they must have something.
It was Milt Pappas, Jack Balchin, and Dickie Simpson.
All household names.
Well, Milt Pappas was, the Orioles had a boatload of pitching, which is funny. So they had all that pitching with the 5 starters that they had.
That's right. You can understand. But Milt Pappas, went on to be a coach too. I think he might have managed at some point.
He pitched a no-hitter for the Cubs.
Yeah. And Domingo Germán pitched a perfect game. That doesn't make him good.
He mentions the Maris trade. He mentioned a couple of players. There's actually 2 other well-known players, at least from around here. Norm Seaburn, but here's the more important one. Marvelous Marv Thornberry was included in that trade. So
I have a really bad trade in baseball history that I just that I bet isn't on anybody's list here. Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi.
That's on everybody's list. I got a few of these. You ready? That are from other teams that are really bad, just to make us feel better about the Yankees. Bagwell from the Red Sox to the Astros for basically nothing, right? You've got Jason Varitek and Derek Lowe went to Boston.
Terrible deal for them.
Terrible deal. They got nothing. Heath Close. Here's another classic. Heath Close. Heath. Can you
Slocum.
say this?
Heath Slocum.
Heathcliff Slocum went to Seattle. How's this one? Dennis Eckersley, at 31 years old, went from the Cubs to the A's, where he became one of the world's best closers. And all the A's gave up was a guy named Dave Wilder, Brian Gwynn, and Mark Leonetti.
Wow.
And Eckersley went on to win World Series with the A's and the Cardinals.
Hmm.
And
How
then
about Go ahead.
go ahead.
Mike, you mentioned the Ferozzi trade. Now, for some reason, the Amos Otis trade is a reminder of some. Was it Joe Foy?
I have that on my list too. It's on my
Where
list.
was Amos Otis?
Amos Otis for Joe Foy, I think it was, right?
Amos
Who
Otis,
was he playing for?
who was playing for the Mets.
AC.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that Amos Otis, they had Nolan Ryan, and then they also had, who else was it that was, and our friend Yankee buddy, right fielder for the Orioles.
Boda?
No, Red Sox, the Orioles guy. It was for the Yankees forever. Can't believe I'm going dark.
And Singleton?
Singleton. Didn't they have Singleton also?
Singleton, well, that's a bad trade. Singleton went to Montreal. That was a Montreal trade. Oh, that was for Rusty Staub. That was not a bad trade.
That wasn't.
Yeah, I guess that
no,
wasn't.
but so on the other half of it, you've got also Amos Otis. It was Amos Otis and rookie pitcher Bob Johnson went to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some more bad ones that we've got. Ready? Two of them involving the same player. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Montreal trading Randy Johnson to the Mariners.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Okay, and then you've got the Mariners trading Randy Johnson.
Not good.
On the other side was a bad trade.
How about this one? Pedro Martinez for Delino DeShields.
Yes, from the Montreal Expos to the LA Dodgers. I have that one on my list too.
Can you imagine the World Series they could have won with Pedro?
Nope. And then you've got well, this one is a bad trade in hindsight, but at the time, McGuire wasn't playing very much for the A's. But McGuire to the Cardinals, the A's got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So they got T.J. Matthews, Blake Stein, and Eric Ludwig.
It's interesting to me. Let's talk about that a little bit. Trades where they're forced by guys. Guys are forcing deals. Because I remember that. He wanted out of Oakland. I was living in Oakland at the time, and I was living in San Francisco at the time, and he wanted off the A's. Right. And the A's were like, did not want to trade him, but they knew they couldn't sign him. So they were like, okay, we got to do this. And it's interesting to see when that happens, how often do the teams to do the deal get burned because they feel the guys are forcing their hand. And should they be able to? I mean, should you be forced to trade a guy who's making that much money?
Well, if you can't afford to sign him, which the A's can't afford to sign me right now.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they can afford it. They're choosing not to. They're choosing not to. So here's a couple of more deals. Ready? The John Smoltz for Doyle Alexander trade.
Uh-huh.
But Doyle Alexander, you got to give a little bit. Doyle Alexander went to Detroit and pitched like CC Sabathia did for the Brewers. He basically pitched every fourth day and won every game and got Detroit into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. True.
And then you've got another Mets trade, Lenny Dykstra and Roger McDowell to the Phillies.
And how about Tom Seaver?
Juan Samuel was going the other way in that deal.
That's a great deal. How about Tom Seaver for Steve Henderson? Another.
Hey, don't forget about Doug Flynn.
Was Doug Flynn in that deal?
Doug Flynn and
Dan Norman.
And there was one other guy.
The pitcher, I think.
But really not a good deal. A bad deal on so many levels. We got a message. I see something from Steve Carroll.
Yeah, I like Steve Carroll because he's mentioning the trade for my guy.
I preface this by saying when considering trades and evaluating talent, you never know if the player can perform in New York. But Willie McGee in '81, during the World Series, he would have been a great center fielder for us for years to come. And Fred McGriff to Atlanta, to Dale Murphy. And not the all-star one, but the reliever.
It was Dale Murray.
And who can forget Jay Buhner for Ken Phelps?
Okay, there we go. There's the winner. We let one slide in there.
Jay Buhner.
Frank Costanza. That's right.
All right. Here it is.
Got away.
He got away. Hold on. Where is it? There it is.
God.
I was waiting.
I can't believe it. He was so young. How could this have happened?
Well, he'd been logging some pretty heavy hours. First one in the morning, last one to leave at night. The kid was a human dynamo.
Are you sure you're talking about George?
You are Mr. and Mrs. Costanza.
What the hell did you trade Jay Buhner for? Last year. He's got a rocket for an arm. You don't know what the hell you're doing.
Now,
My baseball people love Ken Phelps back. They kept saying, Ken Phelps, Ken Phelps.
all right. Part of the funniest thing about that scene is the context. George, I think, is dead.
Yes, they think George is dead. And
George is dead.
all his dad thinks about is Jay Buhner.
It's the trade. I love that. That is one of the great scenes, and absolutely true.
Well-
We all wondered what he was thinking about that one. I remember seeing. I went to a game up in Boston, and I got there early, and I saw him hit. I saw Jay Buhner hit 5 balls over the left field light tower. Now that is like, if for those of you people who haven't been to Fenway, it's 4 blocks away. I've never seen anything like it. It's on a building beyond the stadium, and he hit them over those things. I've never seen anyone hit a ball that far, and he did it 5 times. And I'm thinking, and this is maybe 90, summer of 90. I've never seen anything like it. And they traded him for a pile of pus in a bad uniform. Just never.
Hey, he had a good mustache.
Ken
So
Phelps.
here, I want to get in a couple of friends of the show. We're going to get in 2 quickies, and then we'll wrap it up. Big Juicy has a good view on this Buhner trade.
Hey guys, Big Juicy here. My mom was a big Mariners fan, and her favorite player was Jay Buhner, and he has to be one of the all-time worst trades that the Yankees made in trading him to the Seattle Mariners. He only hit 310 home runs in his career, 13 years with the Mariners. It even made a Seinfeld episode when Frank Costanza congratulated, what the hell did you trade Jay Buhner for?
So,
Can we have a little nasty kind of a little bed background music there?
well, we got Nick Pasianos, friend of the show. I'm going to put his picture up while we play his
Again? Okay.
Well, he's got a comment that we want to do.
All right.
Hey guys, Nick Pasianos here. Love the show. Bad Yankee trades.
Love this.
2 come to mind for me. First is the classic Buhner for Phelps. Second might be Sonny Gray when they acquired him back in 2017 for 3 top prospects. Not sure if any of those prospects went on to do anything, but we all know how Gray's tenure as a Yankee went. Talk to you soon.
That was a good one. Thank you. I'll leave this to you, Miller, because it was to the A's, so you know this. These guys sucked for the A's. They didn't give up anything, did they?
No, the guys they gave up for Sonny Gray were not good. And if you remember, before our fantasy draft, I was spouting off that Sonny Gray was going to win a Cy Young for the Yankees. And as it turns out, he is a really good pitcher, just not in New York. He finished second in the Cy Young last year in the American League.
Yep.
So, Steve, let's from you before we hang up. What's your worst, in your opinion, the worst trade in Yankee history? Do you have another one?
Honestly, I don't know if I do. I mean, I think that we pretty much have. I will say one thing: the trade that always bothers me. In '76, they made this huge trade with the Orioles. They got Grant Jackson, and they gave. I mean, I can't remember it was all, but they traded. It was Tippy, it was
Scott McGregor.
Oh, what a trade! I mean, maybe they got. I think they got Doyle Alexander. I think from that.
Yes,
trade.
they did. Was it Pat Dobson?
Yeah, it was awful. I mean, that trade hurt us for years.
And what was great about that trade is when we heard it, you and I were listening to Sports Phone. We used to, during the last minute,
976-1313.
we would dial it 50 times over and over again at the trade deadline, hoping that the deal would come in. And I remember Yankees get Jackson, and we thought it was Reggie. We were like, the Yankees
Okay,
got rid.
but the same night, because everything always happened June 15th. That was the same night that they got bad fight for about from Oakland, and the Red Sox got Rudy and Fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Yankees, wait, this is the Yankee trade. You ready? It was Grant Jackson, Doyle Alexander, Jimmy Freeman, Elrod Hendricks,
Okay.
and Kenny Holtzman
Oh, Kenny Holtzman. Yeah, that was
for Rick Dempsey, Tippy Martinez, Rudy May, Scott McGregor, and Dave Pagan.
There are a lot of wins, and they lost a lot of players in that trade who went on to win a lot of baseball games.
Ken Holtzman, Billy Martin, the great anti-Semite. He just hated him. He just despised Kenny Holtzman.
Yeah. He wrote
Was
about
Billy Martin an anti-Semite?
it. Wasn't loved. He didn't love.
I mean, I know he hated Ken Holtzman. That doesn't mean he hates every Jewish person.
Marshmallow salesman either, but I mean that's
He was a Jew.
He doesn't. Well, he doesn't like Reggie Jackson. I don't think Reggie's Jewish.
Reggie's Jewish. I think Reggie is Jewish.
Oh, you think Reggie's Jewish? So, all right. So the Donaldson trade is pretty bad, right? Because the Yankees were eating all that salary when all they had to do was cut Sin.
Any trade that Cashman has made in the last 3 years is.
I got one.
Go ahead, hit us with it.
My all-time one. Really makes me mad. The Duran, Otto, and Hovner for Joey.
See, this one.
Joey Callow.
This is the other thing, though. This is like the Gray trade to me. At the time you made the trade, everybody thought it was going to be great. It was universally loved across all of baseball.
But
it just didn't work.
To be a terrible trade.
It turned out to be a terrible trade, and Duran ends up being a better player than anybody thought. Although he didn't have as good a year last year as he had the first year, but we'll see. Maybe the Yankees get lucky and Clayton Beater is.
I think the Beater deal might turn. He might be a starter this year. So yes,
people are high on
5 years to look at a deal, but that was one where you're right. But that's to your point, Mike, earlier about how does it turn out for them? How did it work?
Terrible. It turns out terrible. So the other trades that were really bad. I love this, and this is another double whammy. 2 double whammies I'm going to hit you with. You ready? The first time they got Javier Vasquez. For Nick Johnson and company. And the second time they got Javier Vasquez for Melky Cabrera, Mike Dunn, and Arodys Vizcaíno.
Melky was pretty much done by then.
Melky played for another 5 or 6 or 7 years. He had over 300 for the Giants. Melky had some
steroids.
Left in him.
He was known. He was a known. Didn't he get suspended? Wasn't he suspended at one point?
All right. No. Yes, he was. And then I've got a hat trick of trades. You ready? The many trades of Ron Hasse.
Oh, wow.
He went to the Yankees from the Cubs. He went from the Yankees to the White Sox. And he went from the White Sox back to the Yankees. And then he went from the Yankees back to the White Sox.
Well, they seem to know it. He liked the train ride. He liked that ride.
But there's somebody else Oscar was like that also. Oscar came and went as well.
Yeah, Oscar was like 3 times. Oscar and wore different numbers every time. 17, 23.
So Kevin Brown deal was pretty bad for the Yankees. Not that they gave up anything, but Kevin Brown stunk.
Yep.
Larry Gurra for Fran Healy didn't work out very good for the Yankees.
That was a bad. He went on to win a lot of games for Kansas City.
Yeah, he did.
He does.
And I got one, not a Yankee trade, a really bad baseball trade. How about Ozzie Smith for Gary Templeton? Do you think that was a bad deal?
Well, at least it was a time it was an all-star for an all-star.
Yeah. I don't know. Templeton just tanked. Never really became anything after that. Ozzie went on to be Ozzie. So anyway.
That was a good offensive player.
There's another trade that reminds me of. I don't know the details, but I remember Joe Morgan was traded to Cincinnati for nothing. And he turned out to be Joe Morgan.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Was he in the Jimmy Wynn deal? Was Jimmy Wynn in that deal originally?
I'll tell you in a second. I have that one on my computer. I didn't write it down, but I have it on my computer. Let me get to his transactions. So he went with Ed Armbrister, Mr. I bunt and cause a grief in the World Series. Jack Billingham, Cesar Geronimo, and Dennis Menke went to the Reds for Tommy Helms, Lee May, and the actor known as Jimmy Stewart.
Wow. So
So
that
Lee
was
May was a stud player, and Tommy Helms was, he wore a helmet playing second base, just like Horace Clarke did. But I mean, think about it. Billingham, Geronimo, Menke, Morgan, and Armbrister all played a role in at least one, if not three, of the World Series they won.
there. It is. You know what time it is?
It is time to say goodbye.
So long to all of our fans, all 8 of you. We thank you for coming back so loyally. We really do. We thank Mr. Steve Schneider, my dear brother. I've known him my whole life. Can you believe it?
Legend brother.
And I just want to say it's always great to see you doing well. And our little friend, our
Mini Steve.
Our mini Steve.
I can't get him to dance and play Hava Nagila, though.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on again. Hey, I have a next show. Next time. Let's talk crazy Yankee numbers. Let's take the number and go back like the who were number 2, who number 1, and the trade.
Well,
he's on the show a couple of times, and look at this. He's already giving us ideas.
He thinks he's a producer now.
Wow.
Okay,
taking on new responsibilities, Steve.
Thanks for inviting.
We appreciate that.
We knew he had a big head. Just look at him, but now it's really big.
Speaking
of course, speaking of heads. So what I have to say to you all for this time is,
ciao.
Bye. Have a great time.
Bye. Have a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall see you next week. I am off next week on assignment. I will be on a plane ride, so I expect the fan base to triple while I am away.
Miller said he cannot do the show again.
I am on a plane. I'm on a plane again. And I'm a little nervous because it is a 787-9X or whatever it is.
Oh, really?
I'm on that plane, and it's an Alaska Airlines plane, but I'm thinking that is the safest plane in the land right now.
Strap in, brother. Strap in.
Strap in. My friend. You guys have a nice life, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Adam, good luck next week without me. I will try and join if I can, if my plane lands early enough. Ladies and gentlemen, good night and good luck.